This episode's brought to you by our great sponsors of the Pacific Northwest Fungo Banner podcast, starting with Max BP, the small ball pitching machine to improve your hand-eye coordination and reaction times while providing an unmatched amount of reps. Max BP has 5 different velocities for fastballs, as well as right-hand and left-hand curveballs. They also have the Pro Machine with additional velocities, right-hand, left-hand curves, sliders, and cutters, as well as a rapid-fire setting for defensive drills. Go check them out at maxbp.com. Also, Safeguard out of the Tri-Cities. Go check them out, as they have provided all of the great gear for the Fungo Banners since day one. Go check out Safeguard. And Top Tier Sports, if you're looking for some summer tournaments still, go check them out all over the Pacific Northwest. I even hear they might even have some basketball tournaments here in Ellensburg. Go check out devobats.com for all your wood bat needs out of the Tri-Cities. And if you need your coach's fungos, they are the company to go see. And new to the podcast, AstroTurf. AstroTurf's Diamond League Series is now the official synthetic turf of Major League Baseball, trusted to perform at all most elite level of the sport and loved by everyone. Go check them out if you're looking to renovate your facility.
Being a Northwest guy is you're raised in a batting cage, you're raised in a New York facility, you're taking ground balls off of, you know how to work in limited space.
Okay, I'm going to tell you right now, and I know I'm biased because I'm a Northwest guy, but I will take a Northwest guy over somebody from another area any day of the week because I just think they're tougher. I just think they're tougher guys.
I think that's one of the best things about baseball is it still is a way that you can really develop toughness and develop, loyalty and all those kinds of things that we want out of young men in particular.
Welcome to the Pacific Northwest Fungo Banter podcast, where we highlight all of the great coaches of the Pacific Northwest. Now, here are your hosts, Eric Sorensen, Jason Jarrett, and Kelly Gow.
Hey, welcome back, Fungo Banner fans, to your next episode of the Pacific Northwest Fungo Banner podcast. Eric Sorensen here. The guys are about to be on with us here in a second. And if you've already watched this episode, I know you already know who it is, because the way we're doing it this year, go check them out on all of our social media platforms. We are going live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, X, whichever way you want to call it. We'll be going live. So go follow us on all of our social medias, and we'll be announcing when we are going to be going live. And then the episodes are going to drop as we go in our normal schedule. But the cool part is live episodes is you have the opportunity to interact, ask listener questions to our guests, and get firsthand, get these episodes in earlier. Pretty excited about how we're doing this. It's fun. We thoroughly enjoy interacting with all of you fans out there. And thank you to everybody who has typed questions to our listeners. Go ahead and check this one out. Spread it with everybody and follow our social medias. We're going to be probably on next week with the live episode. As soon as we lock everything in, we'll let you guys know. But as you all hopefully have already watched, and hopefully you're listening to it on your car speakers, where we're super excited to be joined by Aaron Vaughn, the head coach at Wenatchee Valley Community College. And pretty excited about this first step and how that program has been building up there at Wenatchee. And pretty excited the coach was able to, we've been trying to lock him down for a while, and we're excited that we finally got him on. It did not disappoint. So go check him out. Also, go check out allstatebaseball.com. Go to clinics. As the Washington State Baseball Coaches Association, our clinic is going to be in Ellensburg, February, Super Bowl weekend. But you don't miss the Super Bowl because you're home Saturday afternoon. Get here Friday afternoon for a great night of talking on Friday night at the Hotel Winrow downtown, same spot as last year. Social hour, after hours at the downtown Ellensburg. And that's, you guys all know the clinics we go to. That's where you really get some of the good stuff, is when you get to sit when we had the place full of all baseball coaches. It was just so much fun. It's a weekend you do not want to miss. If you haven't come yet, please get signed up. It's put on by high school coaches, and it's put on by the High School Association. But you know what? Travel coaches, summer ball, youth, please show up, because you guys are feeding us. So we want everybody to be there. And on Saturday, there's going to be live presentations in the field house at Central Washington University. You get to see hands-on demonstrations with our guys, and kids will be there to do that. So pretty excited about it. Get signed up ASAP. We will have so much more. We're going to announce speakers in the next week. So go follow the Washington State Baseball Coaches Association Clinic Twitter and for more updates, and they'll be sending emails out. So thank you again to all our sponsors. Thank you to Coach Vaughn, and I hope you enjoy part one with Aaron Vaughn, head coach at Wenatchee Valley Community College. Well, welcome back, Pacific Northwest Fungo Banner fans, to another episode. And tonight we are real excited to have our next guest on, as we are thrilled to be joined by head coach at Wenatchee Valley Community College, Aaron Vaughn. Thank you so much for taking time to be on the podcast with us tonight.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to be here and talk some baseball. I mean, gotta love the Pacific Northwest, got some good baseball. We're a great program, so all excited here.
Absolutely. And right away, our first hard-hitting question with every episode is, what is your favorite fungo?
Oof. I got a tie right here. So I actually, crazy enough, I have a player that started making his own fungos.
Ooh,
And so I've only, he does the hand dipping and all that kind of stuff. And so I've absolutely loved his fungos. It's like Firehouse Fungos. He's a fireman now. So he just has some fun with that. But otherwise, I'm an infield guy too. I like the little Mizuno 34-inch fungo. That one is pretty clean as far as the standard ones.
Yeah, that's a great choice.
Great answers.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Coach, talk us through your path in baseball, where you grew up playing, and then what got you into coaching to where you are today.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was born and raised down in Arizona, so great baseball town down there too, obviously Tucson, Arizona. So played through high school there, had a successful career, looked on to college ball and kind of looked all over the map, and ended up at NNU, so not too far away from Wenatchee. And oddly enough, I just had one of my best friends going over there. And so he kept convincing me to go look at the school, try out, get a look, and got a good look and some offers over there. So went to NNU, played 4 years there. After that, had a pretty solid career. So got the chance to play some minor league baseball with the Astros and did that for a year, and a year of semi-pro in the Frontier League afterwards. At that point, I could see, and I was engaged at the time, and I'd always told my wife, like, once I was no longer on the upward train, that I would be okay giving it up. And so I saw that was the sign. I debated playing a little in the Pecos League just to try it out. They actually had a team down in Tucson at that time, so it could have been fun, but we were ready to get married and settle down. So did that and thought baseball was done for my career. Kind of just kept going and started working, and I looked towards getting more schooling. I always tell this, I have a bachelor's degree in pre-physical therapy, and I tell everyone, like, never get a degree that says pre, because it means you're going to more school afterwards. So, and so, yeah, did that, had to go get my master's, and we were in Spokane at that time. So went and got my master's in athletic admin, and kind of while I was doing it, ended up coaching a little high school ball at Ferris High School over there. Did some private lessons, honestly, just because, like, I needed money. We were strapped for cash, so I did some lessons at Athletic Edge Spokane. So shout out to them. They were great for me. So I did that kind of off and on for about 3 years and realized coaching was actually a ton of fun. My wife was from Moses Lake, and so oddly enough, she got a job offer in Moses Lake. We didn't ever want to go back there, to be honest. No shade on Moses Lake, but it was not where we wanted to end up by any means. But just kind of got placed there, and I called up the head coach at that point, Jameson Lang, really good guy. And I was like, hey, do you need any help? Like, I'm going to be in town. I'm looking for some other jobs, but I would love to stick around baseball. And he had just lost his guy that was helping a lot of his pitching and doing some other stuff. So I said, yeah, I would love to fill in. So yeah, I did that for 3 years, had a ton of fun. I was working full time on the side too. But yeah, I had a ton of fun with that. Started helping with the recruiting business and all that kind of stuff towards the last year, and then got the opportunity to get a job here at Wenatchee Valley. And they were real good because it was a partner job. So I run the rec center, so it's full time, which is really nice, especially for the junior college. You don't always get that. So yeah, I've been loving it, and we're year 5 now, and we're on the upward train at least. That's good.
Coach, as an Arizona guy and coming up to the Pacific Northwest, was there much for you to really adapt, or I mean, you're down in the Southern Hemisphere, a lot warmer weather, early spring up here. It's not always the greatest, especially if you play in Ellensburg, you're dealing with sleet and wind, and who never knows. I mean, Eric will tell you, but how much was that for you? Was it a difficult transition, or was it easy?
Yeah. No, I would say as a player, it was It actually wasn't horrible. I transitioned pretty quickly. So I was mainly a pitcher. I did a little bit of two-way stuff, but I was mainly a pitcher by far. And you just kind of had to get used to some things. And it really wasn't that bad. Like for me, I just was like, well, I'm doing this. Like I got to go full toil and I'm not going to try to baby myself into anything. And so we were just kind of thrown into it. I mean, I still remember shoveling snow before games sometimes. So the warning track, you still go out and play. But no, I mean, it was a lot of fun. Honestly, as a pitcher, you get enough adrenaline when you get going. You ain't cold at that point anymore. And yeah, you just kind of live on that. And I remember probably the worst part of it was sitting in a bullpen on the day you're not going to pitch and just realizing how tight my shoulder blades would get because I was just so crunched over. Never had felt that one. So like that was a different soreness I had to get used to. But yeah, overall, really not too bad as a player. I would say I didn't coach in Arizona, but as a coach, I think it's harder just because your plans always change. You never really know what's happening. So that one's a little more of an adjustment where Arizona, you just know you're going outside, you're playing. It's not going to ever rain except for one week a year pretty much. So yeah, a little bit of adjustment, but I definitely love the Northwest. I plan on sticking up around this area for a very long time.
So talk about the transition of you as a coach, from player to coach. Obviously you went from D2 baseball to pros to indie ball to assistant or high school assistant. Like that's a long ladder to kind of move around, right? Like, so talk about kind of maybe your progressions as a coach from, maybe go to the college age, or we can start Ferris. How did you kind of learn your way into coaching and kind of how you evolved, yourself to the role you have now?
No, that's a good one. I mean, especially even, just Ferris is a kind of first raw coaching experience. Definitely didn't know it. I knew baseball really well, but didn't know what I was doing as far as like helping run a team and all those kind of things. So it was good. I helped a couple guys and led the program for a little while. But that was definitely good just to be able to like see that coaching is a lot more than just knowing the mechanics and the strategies and that kind of stuff. But being a coach is way, way more than that, especially in the relationship side. And watching JMO, me and him, and I've told him this 100 times, we were a great pair because we're complete opposites. That guy, love him. He has crazy good fire. He inspires the players really, really well. Not an organized guy, a little bit of a hothead. The players loved it too. You never knew when he was going to blow up at you. And then versus me, where I'm a much more like organized, like to have everything kind of laid out, a little bit calmer to get to that angle. Like I'll still get on guys when I need to, but a lot more of a little more of a relaxed environment with just doing our things right, where he's busting on you. And so that was good to see that, hey, like what he has does work. And knowing that as a head coach, I would have to adopt some of those things. You have to have, you got to have a little fire behind you. Mm-hmm. And so I think that was super beneficial, having coaching under a guy who we were complete opposite styles, and just learning it. Because he did a great job. Big Ben's a tough area to recruit, and he was great with kids, and kids loved his program. He would piss them off, but then he would hug them right afterwards. And so he was that kind of a coach, and guys loved it. So I think that was super helpful for me to be able to see something that was different than what I had, I guess, played under, and also kind of what I had envisioned myself as a coach.
Yeah, Coach, I think a lot of times, for those new coaches coming in, we tried to model maybe after a particular individual or think in our mind of a certain style. What was your key to, you kind of talked about, your experience with Coach Lang and some of the things, but what was that one thing that just really set and paved your way of like, hey, this is the style of coach I'm going to become and who I want to be?
Yeah. Again, so my first year here at Wenatchee Valley, I was raw to being a head coach and running that whole program. And so that was a year, and I told myself the first couple of years, I was like, I need to test out a lot of things in coaching, which sounds bad when you're at a college level. You're still testing things out in that level or that capacity. But I was like, I need to see what works for me, as far as like, I need to be super fiery at some point, and then see how players react to that. I need to be over relaxed at some point and see how that reacts. And so I would say in that first year, especially, I tested a bunch of just different kind of philosophies, different ways about going with players. I mean, the one thing I kind of knew that was always going to be a huge part of my style was just very relationship style, more just making sure the guys know I have a really high expectation for them, but I'm always gonna have their best interest in mind. I'm always gonna be honest. I'm always gonna be truthful, and just having a true open relationship with those guys. And even like JMO, he was very fiery, but he did a great job of being honest and real with guys. And so I knew that was a huge part of it. And I mean, we've had some success here at Wenatchee, and I think that's been a big part of it, is players can buy into that. And so, but I mean, that first year it was fun. And I mean, heck, I still test out different things every year, just like, hey, I wonder how the players react to this. I wonder how recruiting talks if I throw this in there and that in there. But yeah, definitely that relationship style and just being pretty real with guys and letting them know where they're at. And yeah, not just filling their heads full of, oh, coach believes in me and I believe in them, but I also tell them where they're actually at. I knew that was going to be a big part of our program.
Kelly, you're muted.
Back to 2020 all over again.
Oh,
there he is.
Oh, here we go. Hey,
how'd you know I was talking to you guys? Talking to the cat.
You're just scripting it out. It's all right. It's all scripted.
Cat hasn't been here yet.
Give it time.
Train of thought.
What were you saying?
Yeah, no, I think this day and age, and maybe things have changed for you more recently, but maybe not significantly, that guys aren't necessarily used to hearing what they don't want to hear, right? Of an honest opinion that they've never maybe got in their entire life, right? And I think, knowing you and having at least in an exhibition status coaching against you in a game, like, you can obviously tell that there's care there. There's not, there's thought, there's process, there's everything that goes into it. And then on the recruiting trail too, seeing you coach teams, like, it's not just blind decision making, right? Like there's thought process going on there. So I talk about maybe how that's been lately to, build up enough, respect within your guys early on to where they can take that information and maybe how have you handled that lately with players that struggle to hear criticism?
Yeah. I mean, everyone struggles with criticism. No one really wants to be told that. I think a really good example would be, he's probably my best player on the team right now, is Malachi. I think he'll be a D1 potential guy next year, Malachi Emery Henderson. And he did great at the end of last fall, but we were really, really honest with him. We were like, hey, dude, like, you should be a D1 and you are not working hard enough to be a D1 kid. He thought his exit meeting was going to be all, pats on the butt and hugs, because he's crazy talented. We loved him. He was going to be our dude. We knew that. I mean, the guy could have never worked hard and still been our dude at this level. But he didn't take it very well, and it was kind of winter break. Had a long processing, and I know, like, me and him are really tight now. And he told me, like, he was pretty frustrated and angry with me, but he kind of spurted on, and once he talked to some guys who'd been in the program a little bit, that also helped him explain where we were coming from. That was definitely a huge piece. So, I mean, I would say I really do rely on our players too to help in that process of being hard on guys. I mean, our sophomore leaders have done a pretty good job typically. And like this year, we've had some really good sophomore leaders of, when I've been hard on a kid, take him aside and explain where I get, I'm hard on a kid because I see the potential. I know they're going to do something. I don't want to see them not do it. And so once the guys kind of understand where we're coming at, when we're harsher on them and we tell them the tough things, then that conversation usually goes really well. Like, we had a really similar case in the fall with a kid who should have been on a D1 roster, and I was pretty harsh on him because he just thought he was all that and didn't think he had to do anything about it. And he was real angry at me for about a week, and Malachi pulled him aside, talked to him, and said, hey, this is why he's doing it. I hope you realize that. And once that conversation he's had a completely different fall, and it's been really fun to work with him. And so I really do. I rely on a lot of the players to help even mediate that, because I'm pretty honest with those guys too. So
yeah, I think having your, teams and kids know who the talented players are within a team, right? Like I think it's pretty easy. It stands out who has the exit velo, who can move this way or that way. Like being a college player, you have a feel for talent around you. And when you see a coach be critical of the most talented player on the field or one of them, right? The buy-in that you get from a team aspect is kind of second to none. And it's tough to do that, in certain situations, because those guys are perceived leaders because they're the best talented individual, right? So people are going to flock to the people that are good players because they want to be in that circle. They want to be good like them. But being critical of those guys like really shows that, hey, like I'm doing this for the greater good of us as a group, right? Not to belittle him, not to make him small, or maybe even the last player on the roster, your fifth catcher, your fourth first baseman, whatever. If you're being critical on him, if he sees you on the best guy, like he's going to fall in line, right? And there's not going to be some of those side conversations or some of those cliques forming that coach just hates me or this and that, because you're actually on the better guy, right?
And we've even really noticed it too. If you don't get on that better guy consistently, then everyone thinks like, well, he's the dude. His work ethic should be my work ethic. Mm-hmm. And so that can be a really slippery slope for guys too.
100%.
The leadership to grow with those guys that have had the conversations after you had the conversations that turned the other guy's perspective around. How long did it take for you guys to build that in your program after you took over? And what were some of the things that you guys did to build the leadership qualities of the leaders in your program?
Yeah, I mean, obviously year one, I just got handed a roster, so it was a little bit of disaster, but I was pretty lucky that year one, there were some kids even on that roster who were pretty sick of losing and not having great experiences all the time. So that was a huge piece of it, that I came into a situation that was kind of rock bottom and they wanted something more, which you don't always come into. And then for me too, another huge piece of it was even that first year, I have some really good assistant coaches who same exact, just like not even nothing to do with baseball, but mental like philosophy as me, as far as taking ownership and doing those kind of things. And something that we've done really well that I would say even by year two, we felt pretty comfortable with, was creating ownership with those guys. Like I have we call them a caveat leader, but it's a group of, kind of team voted captains and a couple coach picked ones. And usually every few weeks I just pull them aside and I ask them, be like, hey, like, tell me what I need to know. Tell me, like, is myself doing something wrong? Could practices run better? And so when I've given them a lot of ownership of the program too. And once they've seen that ownership and that I'm going to actually listen to them, and I'm going to have my own opinions, and we'll have that banter even back and forth sometimes of like, hey, do you think this will work with this guy? What do you think? But when they see that I give them some true ownership of the program, that was probably a huge turnaround. And I saw that, like I said, probably that first year group, it was kind of starting to figure out, but I would say by year two, guys started to kind of figure that if they wanted to have a good program, they were going to need to do something about it too. And that I was going to be there to support them and help them in the best way and always have their best interest. But I think a huge piece is I've always told my guys, like, I think I'm a great coach. I don't got everything figured out by any means. And I'm still learning, I'm still developing. And so once I've kind of broken those barriers of like, it's not always just me versus you, but it's an actual group effort, those kind of conversations have happened a lot easier. The tougher ones, guys talking to each other and helping each other out in the background too.
Mm-hmm. Banner fans, if you guys got any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat for Coach Vaughn. Coach, this is kind of transitioning to your staff a little bit. This is something we really haven't talked much in any of our previous episodes, but for that new coach, he's got maybe a brand new high school job, and maybe he's got, a long list of years of playing experience, but this is his first go around. How does someone like that, and even as for you, go about, bringing in the right guys to for your staff and getting the right buy-in and the philosophy that you're trying to develop in your program?
Yeah. I would say probably a couple things that come right to my mind. First one, go find an old guy. Like, it's not a joke. You need to go find someone that's 65 plus to come volunteer or whatever, help out. Every single year I've had at least one 65 plus old guy who just has that baseball grandfatherly knowledge. You need that as a coach. The players love it. Like, you need that in there. And I would say for me too is where I think we had the most success is I was really lucky to get some good baseball knowledge coaches. But I got more so coaches who were bought into taking care of players the same way that I kind of think about it. Mm-hmm. And we were all on that same mind track. Like, even a couple of my coaches were pretty young to coaching when they came in. But if you surround yourself with people who have that similar mindset of taking care of players the right way, then baseball is a lot easier. I mean, it's great to have the knowledge. You need that to help develop guys. But if guys are happy, they just play better. And if your staff is on the same page, guys are usually pretty happy. So yeah, find an old guy and then get a whole bunch of people that kind of have that same mentality as you.
Love that. How about roles within a staff? Like, obviously as an assistant, you're kind of maybe more single track of what your role is as far as position groups and those type of things. But, how have you transitioned from, being a collegiate pitcher to kind of what your role is within your team as, I don't want to say it like an assistant as a head coach, right? Because everyone kind of has their position group or that group that they go on. So talk about maybe your progression throughout your time in that.
Yeah. I mean, definitely it was great. Like, even at Big Bend as an assistant, it was really good that I had a lot of control of the staff, but it also gave me opportunities to have a pretty good relationship with everyone on the pitching staff. And so I know that was definitely a piece of becoming a head coach. I knew you have to kind of toe that line of a relationship where I want to be at least in a relationship and understand and know my guys and know how they're doing at school and some of those things. But also know that I can't be buddies like I am I was an assistant coach. Mm-hmm. You have to, there's a fine line of structure of making sure I'm going to love and support the guy, but also telling him when they need to do better, being harsh on him, being a jerk sometimes. And so that was definitely a piece where it took me a little bit longer to learn that, probably a couple of years of saying, okay, hey, you work with the outfielders. I want you to go talk with, have a 5 to 10 minute conversation with every single outfielder once a week. Like, that's it, during practice, whenever it is. And making sure every player basically had one assistant coach that they could turn to a little bit more to talk about things. Maybe they have an issue with me or the team, or maybe they're, they don't feel comfortable at opening up that their girlfriend just broke up with them, but they'll tell the pitching coach that. And so that's been a huge piece. And then kind of the coaches, the assistant coaches, knowing how to, that they can give me that information and I'm not going to go stab them in the back basically with it, but I'm going to find the right way to use that information the right way. I'm going to ask the right questions now that I know something, to get some things on the table that might need to be there. So I think that took me, I would say this is probably the year we've done that the best overall. Last year we did pretty good with it too, but yeah, each coach kind of knowing, hey, you're not just here to coach. Like, if you can get into a relationship with your 10 guys, your positional group, then I'll do the little bit more, medium level stuff, a little bit more, I guess, business style relationship in some ways.
Love that. A good coaching staff, really is like a perfect marriage, if there is a perfect marriage, but it's like knowing your roles, right? I mean, as you're raising kids too, and knowing who has what roles and different aspects of that. And so, if you can be transparent and very open in conversations and kind of throw away the pride and the arrogancy, you're going to have definitely a lot more success as a staff for sure.
Yeah. And that's one thing, like I said, we've probably figured that out the best this year. And that's something I've had to work on, is just making sure the staff, my assistants, also know what I hope to have out of them and what their expectations are. But again, like, we're JUCO, none of my coaches are full-time just coaching. They all have another job. Like I did it. And so I always make sure that tell them too, like, hey, tell me when like you need help, when it's too much. So it's kind of that back and forth where, hey, here's what I would dream scenario. What can you give me that's realistic? And let's find something that works. And so I would say this year we've had pretty good group of guys too that want to be able to have those kind of roles and kind of find the balance of life too, though.
Was there anything particular, Coach, that you did leading up to the season to help with that, or is it just the individuals that you were bringing in and just maybe the continuation of conversation you've had over the last few years with some of your guys?
I would say maybe a couple of things, because I've had a couple, like on this year we have a kid who literally graduated here last year, who's helping coach, and he's honestly been a fantastic job. Like he's blown me out of the waters with how well he's doing. Mm-hmm. So I would say like having a lot of the conversations is definitely helpful, but also I think one thing that's given them that kind of the drive to do some of it is I give them a lot of ownership of their position group or whoever they're working with. And they know I'm not going to go over coach them if I disagree with something, but instead we're going to wait and have a conversation, be like, hey, maybe think about attacking it this way. Like even year one with guys, I had 3 assistant coaches and I didn't know them. I met them for about a month before that and got lucky with some good ones. But I gave them a ton of ownership early. And I think when they feel like they are actually a part of the team and it's not me just doing everything, that helps a ton. And then I've always told our players too, like I'm going to have in hitting, for example, like me and Josh Irvin, he's one of our other guys who does a lot of hitting stuff with me. And I've told them all the time, hey, we both have your best interest in mind. We may say things different. We may attack things differently, and that's fine. Like try both ways, figure out which ones that work, and then tell us like if Josh was right and it works for you and I was wrong, cool. Like you got better at the end of the day. And I make sure the players know that too. But yeah, I think just giving them a ton of ownership early. And you see that because then they start investing, they start randomly doing video work on the side without me even knowing with players and meeting them early at the field without even letting me know about it in a good way. And so I think that's been a huge piece of it. And then having more of those conversations on the side when you need to.
Yeah, I think it's important too to not not get too protective of that, right? Of wanting everything to be one way. And it seems like you're in a great framework there. And as a coach to build, comfortability that there's trust in what I'm doing and this and that. And I'm sure there's conversations behind the door of, maybe questioning the thought process of, what were you thinking here with this? And maybe he blows your mind away and like, okay, I didn't see it that way. And you move on, or maybe you guys come to a common agreements going forward. But that's the fun part of it, to be able to sit back and watch guys work and then be able to have conversations behind the door and not be on the field. I think some places are guilty of it more than others, but like constantly feeding guys more and more and more and more and more from a couple different voices, right? Like I think if there can kind of be a productive conversation and trust factor within the staff, that I might not say something now, but eventually we're going to have a conversation about this and try to come to, some agreement of what we see and what we do and all those type of things. But yeah, that's fun. On a practice day, like where do you find yourself kind of working within the framework of practice? Like how is your movement there? Are you kind of working from position group to position group? Do you tie yourself down to one thing? What's kind of your day that in the life there on an outdoor practice?
Yeah. So, I mean, definitely just the way it's ended up being set up. I've definitely worked primarily with infielders. But like I kind of even mentioned, like all my other coaches pretty much have some sort of a job elsewhere. So there's days where I restructure things where I'm going to let the infielders do their dailies, catch play, and maybe a little extended stuff while I work with the outfielders. And so that's definitely a piece. And I make sure I set up practices at least once a week where I am with a positional group for an extended time, just so I can be there, pick their brain, kind of tell them, be like, hey, like in the game this week, this is what I've noticed out of, the outfield group. And I would self-proclaim I'm not a great outfield coach. That's not my gig, but kind of talk through what I've seen with them and ask them, hey, like, what do you work on? What do you think you need to get better at it there? So I think making sure I get to each position pretty consistently at least weekly for a good extended time. And then we probably do, I mean, the way we usually set up practice is about the first 45 minutes is typically individual defensive work. And then we try to get the whole team together no matter what. And whether it's for 10 minutes or an hour to do, maybe it's literally a quick 10-minute competition. Maybe it's an extended in and out with live runners or cuts and relays, all that kind of stuff. But making sure we're all together at some point so I can make some sort of connection with every single guy, or at least see a rep from every single player on the team every day. That definitely been important, and just making sure the guys know, hey, like, coach is available. Yeah, I may have my specific coach, but coach is always available to watch and is paying attention. So yeah, I think that structures work really well for us. But day to day, I'm with the infielders just because we've never had another coach that really likes it, and we're lucky. I like a lot of pitching stuff too, so I usually, like, bullpen day, I'll definitely hop over there. But we've got 2 guys that are working with the pitchers right now, so I know they're taken care of, and I can focus a little bit more at the positional groups.
Talk about your progression as an infield coach, from where you were as a player to where you are now. Like, where some of that growth came. I'm sure, college players that maybe pitched more often played a significant amount of a position in their upbringing, right? But going that transitional piece to an infield coach, like, where would have been kind of your maybe mentors there? Where have you found sources of information? Kind of where have you found your growth to be the highest in that infield training?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's coming into it. I hadn't coached infielders a ton. I mean, I mainly coached pitching stuff, and I'd done quite a bit of hitting stuff. And so, I mean, you can go look at the stats. If you look 5 years ago at my first year, our infield fielding percentage, it ain't pretty. It was not pretty. And we've gone very slowly upward. And I mean, if you've ever, our field's much nicer now, but if you went to our field back then, it was a full rock basically. So that didn't help matters either. But I would say, yeah, definitely learning. I've learned a ton from them. I mean, even just watching all the kind of the things online that you can go find and going and seeing all that. But I think the best thing I've done is honestly just ask the players a lot of questions. Test things out, of saying, like, yeah, do you think this part is actually helpful? Or do you think this is just kind of an eyewash thing? And truly asking the guys, like, I always tell them why we're doing what we're doing, so they understand, like, hey, we're working on this drill because it helps you work through the ball with your footwork, whatever it is. So that at least they have an idea of it. But we're really asking them, be like, hey, when you feel the best, what have you done? And so kind of having that back and forth banter has been really helpful. Like, this is by far my most talented defensive infield group is this year. Like, far none. We're much better than we've ever been. And honestly, I've attacked it quite a bit different this year than I even have, in the last couple of years, just talking with the group of what makes them feel clean on the infield and in rhythm and all those kind of things. And so, and yeah, I mean, I've learned a lot more of the footwork and the things that, like, yes, you need to do, but you look at some really good, especially at the junior college level, like some of the best infielders don't always make it pretty. We had a kid 2 or 3 years ago, Ryan Defini, came here as a transfer, maybe thought he was a third baseman, and he looked horrible in the infield, like mechanically horrible. But the dude ended up being, I think he might have made second team. So he was second team or first team as a shortstop and ended up playing about 35 games as a shortstop. And the dude was 24, slow feet, no shortstop tools, and it didn't look pretty, but he had the right flow and mentality that worked for him that we worked really hard on. And so, yeah, I mean, guys treat it differently. Footwork is definitely helpful, but I would say, especially over the past few years, we've started to transition a lot more from worrying about trying to get to the point A to point B and doing it the right footsteps and all those kind of things, to much more of just pure rhythm, and then letting the guys kind of figure out a little bit more of that timing as they get into the rhythm.
Yeah, Coach, I think that's really important there. We kind of miss that as coaches. We get out and we do a drill and we don't completely explain the purpose of the drill, right? I mean, we're just going to take, ground balls, or we're going to work glove side, we're going to work backside, and we're just saying, hey, this is how we want it done, And I think, the importance of that dialogue really makes that, player feel, not that, he wasn't any less important coming into your program, but at least now he feels like, like you're saying, coach, is that he's somebody, that you do, intentionally do care about his success as a team, as an individual. Do you find yourself through those conversations a lot easier off the field with your players, or do they just become a little bit less? I mean, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but some ways, players always seem to have a hard time connecting with their coaches on and off the field. I don't know if it's intimidation, if it's, whatever, maybe, maybe he's a more authoritative individual and it's a respect thing. But for you, with your guys, do you see that they're a little bit more transparent with you on and off the field?
Yeah. I mean, we've had a pretty good group of transparent guys that are pretty honest with me all the time, whether it's good or bad, both things. I've had players in a good way tell me, like, hey, coach, like, this position group's really getting burnt out right now. Like, we got to do something about it that maybe I didn't see. And I do. I've always, and I've told the whole staff, like, one of the things I always want to prioritize is always telling them why we're doing what we're doing, and then giving them a chance to ask questions, to sometimes even disagree. And again, especially like my infielders, I've got a great knowledge, but maybe they disagree. And so, like, I say, okay, let's go test it out. And if your way is like, if it works and it's fluent and it works, whatever, let's stay with it. Like, let's not change it then. And so given that the guys where it's like, hey, I'm going to push something specific, but if you want to try to like rebut it because you think you actually have something that works, I'm going to all for that, because at the end of the day, that's going to create some more buy-in. That means that they're actually engaged. They're not just rolling through whatever we're practicing in. And so I've told that real bluntly with players, like, you can ask why we're doing things. And if you don't if you disagree, let's talk about it and work kind of through that. And maybe I explain it where, oh yeah, that does make sense to them. Or like, hey coach, like, it just hasn't worked for me. But hey, let's go try what you're saying and I'll see if it clicks. And if it doesn't, cool, we'll go attack it a different way. But I would definitely say that's helped with players just feeling that they are important, that they have a buy-in on the team, and that they can actually do something about it. It's not, they know it's not my way or the highway all the time.
Now entering from the bullpen.
Well, that'll wrap up part one with head coach Aaron Vaughn from Wenatchee Valley Community College. If you enjoyed part one, please share it. Let people know about us if they haven't already. We would really appreciate it. If anybody's listening still, go follow us on all of our socials. Go like and share. Rate and review our podcast. We truly appreciate if you rate it, and we can get those ratings going to get this thing flowing into more earbuds as we can go. Maybe we'll take on the Kelseys one of these days for best sports podcast. I don't know. Let's just see. But go check that out. Thank you. Stay tuned for part 2 next week on here. Go follow our socials, because I believe we'll be going live if scheduling works out in the next week or so with our next guest. Keeping it quiet, but it'll be a good one. And we want to have more interaction with you guys. It's all about you is why we're doing this. So please go follow us on our socials so that when our next live show, because we're doing everything live, you can interact with the coaches, tell funny stories, ask questions for what they're talking about. Let's get this thing interacting and just have a bigger community with everybody. So appreciate it. I think that's it for me. If you are listening to this before Christmas, I hope you have a Merry Christmas. And we'll be back next week with part 2 with Aaron Vaughn, head coach at Wenatchee Valley Community College.